Estonia, and I would like to share with you today some lessons we learned from a Drupal project that we launched earlier this year. And I will more concentrate on the business side of things or project management side of things, and share some lessons based on the failures that we had, and also some things that went well throughout the project. So I will kick off with a project overview, then I will also do a quick demo so that you actually get a better sense what we built. And then will be the main part about the lessons learned, and then at the end, of course, you can ask some questions. But before, I will also introduce myself quickly. I have been working in Wunderkraut, Estonia, a little bit over a year now, and Wunderkraut itself is growing steadily, quite fast. There are already over 170 of us in 9 different countries. And actually, you can see over here Elisa, who actually was the main developer for the project I'm going to talk about. And I believe also you can see Peaches over there, who's going to later do a also presentation for you about MTV UK. So check that out. Before Wunderkraut, I was working in Elisa, which is one of the biggest telecommunication companies here in Estonia, and I was there working as a product owner for their self-service environment. All right, the project and the client. The client for the project was Saint-Gobain, Gyproc, Scandinavia. And Gyproc, or Saint-Gobain itself, is a huge corporation, and Gyproc is one of their maybe most famous brands. And actually, they produce, Gyproc itself has hundreds of different products, and maybe the most well-known product is the inner wall, or in Estonia, I think they call it also Gyproc. So that's their most famous product, and they turned to Wunderkraut with a wish to build a new Scandinavian product website and to build it on Drupal. And Saint-Gobain itself is, as I said, a huge corporation with a history of 350 years behind it, and they have like 200,000 workers in 60 different countries and 80 different brands. So it's a huge company. And a little bit about the market. As I said, the site that we set out to build was aimed to Scandinavian market. And the users, or the target group, is actually the professional people, not the average folks like me, who don't know nothing about construction, but more like engineers, architects, real construction project managers, these kind of people. And the aim was to build the site to 3 different markets: the Danish market, the Norwegian market, and also Sweden market. And Swedish is probably the biggest of them with most users. And also a little bit about the goals that were set out in the discovery process before we actually started development. There were 3 main goals. First one was to use internal resources more efficiently, or in other words, avoid unnecessary contacts to their support people. Because the old site actually generated quite many phone calls to the support people, or emails like, where can I find this product information, or where can I find the documents. The old website didn't really have a good user experience. And that leads to the next point, is that to increase the overall customer satisfaction. As I said, the old site had the user experience and design were quite outdated. I will later also show you the old site. And also they had issues with performance and a lot of downtime and so on. And the third goal was to increase sales. The site that we built actually doesn't have a buying opportunity, but it's more like a sales supporter role, that they can actually track what the users are looking at the site, what products are they looking for, what documents are they downloading, and also to provide new and better promotional opportunities on the site. All right. a little bit about the team who was set out to achieve these goals. We had a distributed team, which was actually laid out in 5 different countries altogether. And to illustrate it on the map a little bit better, in Estonia, on Wunderkraut office, we had project management, main development team, and also analysis throughout the project. We also had the Swedish Wunderkraut office related or involved in the project. They actually did the initial sales for the project. They did the initial analysis and discovery, and they also helped us out with some of the developments. More precisely, they helped us out with all the migration work that we had to do. Also, we had in every Scandinavian country we had the content people or the editors. Also in Sweden we had the product owner for the site who was responsible for the business vision, the backlog, prioritization, all that stuff. In Denmark we had the steering group people. We had a steering group for the project that came together once a month, maybe more often if needed, or not that often if needed, not needed. And the steering group was there to make any strategic decisions for the project, like budget-oriented decisions or decisions about the progress, how the project is going, and so on. And we also had grants. And in Paris, Saint-Gobain has its IT support team, and they were responsible for the hosting. So we had a lot of communication with these guys also. And actually, the communication was one of maybe the biggest challenges of the project, because there were many different people involved. I think altogether there were 15 people who were actively involved in the project, and involving then the business people and also the developers. And then there were also people, maybe 10 of them, who were involved in testing and so on. All right, that's the kind of background, and I will do also a quick demo for you, so that you can get a better sense of what we built. First, actually, quick screenshot about the old site. So this is what the old site looked like. As you can see, or probably guessed that it's quite old. The design and user experience are not up to today's standards, and I think it ran on some custom Danish CMS that really also didn't help them reach their goals. So this is what we built for the client, kind of modern-looking product site. And yeah, let's take a quick closer look at it also. I will show you around. Sit down so it's comfortable. So yeah, this is how it looked. We have on front page some promotional stuff, some promo areas. We have here some JavaScript stuff, and the main focus on the site was, of course, on the products and also on systems. And for these, we have this kind of big overlay menu. All the products are grouped into product categories. And also we have the systems. The systems are actually combined of products. One system can involve maybe 3, 4, whatever number of different products. And for the navigation, we created this kind of big layer menu where you can then choose what kind of product category you're interested in. For example, let's take this. Then we have the product category pages. You can here filter products based on the product category, and you more some specific filters if needed. And then you have product categories, and then actually the product list that are in the product category. So let's take a closer look at one of the products also. So over here we have the product page. We have all the related documents to the products, all the related data. As you can see there, one product can have lots of data, and one product consists of different product articles which are actually used with field collection for these. And one big issue was that when one product can have lots of information, there was a problem how we actually display correctly or user-friendly way to the product, to the user. And as you can see over here, actually the information is not fully displayed, and we have the scroll here, which is not the best solution, but we have to figure it out in the future phases. But most of the products doesn't actually have that much information, so they actually fit properly over here. And what else do we have here? We have then related products over here. Every product has a kind of related product, which was a reference in Drupal. And you can actually navigate here to the related product. For example, the previous product was an inner wall, and then you can see what kind of screws you should maybe use when you're working on the interior wall. And then you can actually navigate back to the product page from here. And let's maybe take a look also from the Drupal side, quickly what's going on. All the products can have a lot of data, a lot of different pieces of data and fields. Over here we have some text fields, we have a product category, a taxonomy over here, some files, images, attached documents, which are references. We had a document content type, and then you can see related products. And over here you have product articles, which are used field collections. So one product can have quite a lot of pieces of data. Gathering all this data together and doing the proper information model was actually quite a challenge. Then we have, as I mentioned, the systems, which are actually then combined of different products. Like, let's take a quick look there also. So we have the same logic that systems are grouped into categories. There were 3 levels of different categories for systems. And you can see a system list with some important technical information, which doesn't maybe make sense for us, but makes sense for the professional users. And again, we have all the data collected together on the system site. And over here you can see which products are actually included in the system, and you can then move to the product page also. What else? We had some documentation pages, document filtering over here. Then we had search. For search we used Solr, and some content pages where editors could make these kind of sub pages where user can then navigate forward to a content page. All right, I think that's it for the demo. If you have later more specific questions, then let me know. All right. So let's continue with the presentation part. So we started out with the project or development work in last year in September, and we launched the site to 3 markets in April this year. So the lessons learned. All the lessons that I'm going to share were actually gathered in the retrospective meetings that we had with the client and also with the team. So I'm going to maybe present to you these lessons that are practical, or I hope they are practical, that you can take with you when you're dealing with project management or any other bigger projects. So let's kick it off. First one, establish playing rules. What are the roles? What are the workflow? What process do you use, and so on. Of course, this is kind of common sense stuff, but this is especially important when you're working in a distributed team setting, when there are actually team members involved that you have not worked with before. you're actually coming first time together, it's actually very important to set out clear roles. For example, go over whatever Drupal best standards that you use, that all the team members are on the same page. An example from our case was that, as I mentioned, our Swedish office was also involved in the project, and they did the initial analysis for the project, and they created this initial technical vision also for the project. So when we took over the development works, of course we had our own ideas and we created our own technical vision for the project, and for a brief period there was this kind of vague area or vague period that wasn't clear who is deciding technical stuff, technical decisions. So we had this too much communication and maybe insecurities about decisions and so on. So be very clear about these things at the beginning of the project, and do not assume stuff that people know that that's common sense stuff, or lay out even the basic stuff and agree on things. Next one, client education at the beginning of the project. And when you're working with a client who is actually who has first time experience with Drupal, it's a good idea to do a kind of Drupal education at the beginning of the project. And by doing that, you will actually make the client more comfortable. You will get better feedback and faster feedback from the testing, and when the client is not doesn't have any experience with Drupal, also the Drupal terminology can be quite maybe confusing at the beginning, like what are the taxonomies, nodes, and all that stuff. So it's really good actually to educate client at the beginning. Yes?
You said at the beginning of your speech that the client wanted you to build the site using Drupal, so
yes.
they knew the Drupal beforehand.
Yes, actually, the Saint-Gobain is quite a big corporation, and they have other Drupal sites, and I think they are also moving towards Drupal quite heavily. But this specific team that we were involved, they didn't have a Drupal background, so that was the issue there.
Okay, that was the requirement for the headquarters of the Gyproc Case.
I cannot say that it's a requirement, but yeah, they turned to us. Actually, remember the background that specifically. If there were also other agencies involved, probably they're aware, but yeah, and then they decided to join Wunderkraut and be actually concentrating on Drupal. So that was the way we went. Right? So yeah, do client education at the beginning, and you will save quite a lot of time in later phases by getting more quality feedback. Define the biggest risks at the beginning of the project, and tackle these straight away. There is a term on the slide which is the known unknowns, which is actually made famous by former US Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld. Probably doesn't know a lot about Drupal projects, but probably knows a few things about risks. And he actually groups risks into 3 different categories. First are the known knowns, which is actually the stuff that, or the risks that you know exist and you know how to solve them, the kind of easy stuff. And then there are the known unknowns, which are the risks that you know that exist, but you are not really sure how to solve them, but you're figuring that I can do this. And then the third group is the unknown unknowns, which are actually then the stuff that you don't know that exists and usually kind of pops out in a project and surprises you. Whoops. And to tackle these unknown unknowns is actually quite difficult because they usually exceed your knowledge base, and to tackle these you maybe have to include outside experts to actually point out things for you or something like that. But yeah, you should tackle these known unknowns first find out what they are, tackle these. For example, from our project, we had to do quite a lot of migration work in the project, and we knew that that's quite a big risk, and there will be quite a lot of work and probably some surprises, but we left the migration works at the second phase of the project. So when we started working on the migrations, also we started to receiving real data about the projects, or real product data. We were before using kind of test data, but then we got all the data about the products, and we had quite many surprises. That we have fields missing, we have wrong fields, new requirements popped out, and so on. But this is something that we could have avoided by actually started working on the migrations early on. All right, next one. Also related to the risks is make risks transparent to the client. By actually making the risks transparent to the client, you will actually gain trust of the client. And I think every project manager has kind of have had these kind of hesitations. Like, I don't know if I should bring this problem up to the client, or maybe it's not that big issue. I'm sure it will kind of go away, and then later on you will have unpleasant surprises. So I urge you to bring out even all the risks early on to the table and discuss these openly. And bring also the risks to the steering group, if you have a steering group set up, so that you can actually get feedback from the steering group. Usually the steering group are smart people, so I'm sure that they can help you out solving some of the issues. Next one, have face-to-face meetings. Once again, the kind of comments and stuff, but it's especially important when you're working in a distributed team setting and people that you have not worked together before. And it's a good idea to have maybe a week-long kickoff meeting where all the team members and the client people, the product owner, are in the same room and working together, discussing the details, getting to know each other. So it's very important to get a good team spirit going, and it will really benefit you throughout the project. And of course, it's good to schedule like regular weekly meetings when the client is weekly meetings or face-to-face meetings when the client is, for example, in another country. So to regularly meet, you can discuss problems face-to-face, and it's much more efficient. We of course had also video chats. We used a lot of Google Hangouts. We had a weekly meeting set up, which worked out very well, but face-to-face meetings are the things to do. Next one related also to client communication is have retrospective meetings, or include the client to the retrospective meetings. Retrospective meetings quickly then the meetings where you can openly discuss problems, what is going well, what's not going that well, what you can improve, what are the opportunities for improvement, and so on. It's important to have them in team, but it's important to also have them with the client. Once again, by doing that, you are being transparent with the client, and you actually can manage risks and expectations better by doing these retrospective meetings with the client, because all the negative emotions or problems will come out earlier, and once again you can then manage the project more efficiently. Seventh one, start the content creation with real data as early as possible. And I think that the two most important words on the slide are real data. An example from our case was, I mentioned migrations already, that we started building the functionality and we started testing with test data. We didn't have all the product information straight from the beginning. And by doing that, we actually kind of, by not having real data, we actually got ourselves later cases into quite a lot of problems. And as I mentioned, that we started working on the migrations in the second half of the project, when we actually got the real data from the customer. And then we found out that we have fields missing, we have new requirements popping up, and it created quite a lot of stress to the team. So if possible, then urge the client to bring out real data as early as possible. Or if they don't have it, then send them working on it as early as possible. Because this will guarantee you more quality feedback throughout the project. Next one, also related to the migrations, is that provide clear guidelines to the client how to provide data. When you're working migrations, then with migrations, then the possibility is that you're probably working with spreadsheets, and in our case, the product information came from the client, and then we had a lot of work to do with the spreadsheets, yeah, we had like products had a lot of different fields, the same systems, lots of different files and so on. So it's really important that you clarify to the client that how should they provide that data. Can there be spaces in the file names, or can there be underscores, or that kind of simple stuff, but it's important to be clear about that, because when you don't do that, then you will get all kinds of mistakes in the data that will in later phases, you have to start cleaning the data, and you will waste quite a lot of time doing that. And the problem was that when we worked on migrations, we had quite many issues, and quite many issues actually were related to the bad content or content mistakes. So we could have avoided that by providing clear guidance.
So you didn't migrate from databases?
We had also some of the information we had from the database, but we still had to clean it up because we didn't fit like one-on-one to our Drupal system. But some of the data they actually started creating with the project. Like they were missing quite a lot of product data that they actually started making from the scratch. So yeah, that was the nuance there. All right, next one. Make sure that all the key members are involved in the project early on. An example from our case was that the content editors or editors who actually were responsible for creating the content were not involved in the project early on. We had a product owner who was responsible for the early testing and creating the initial content and so on, but the content creators or editors were involved quite late stage. And of course we had our deadlines and our goals, but then initially when we got them on board, they had this kind of lack of commitment, because they didn't know what's the progress, what has been done so far. So they created kind of bad emotions and some issues that we had to deal with. Once again, that could have been avoided. So if you do not precisely involve them in the project, then at least inform them. How's the project going? What's the progress? And so on.
Kind of project management tool to be used to include them. So
to include them?
If the members, to inform the members, kind of.
Well, that was the issue, that the editors were actually. My initial thought that was that it's actually the responsibility for the product owner, because they have their internal processes and it was kind of internal team, and but the information really didn't move forward from the product owners. So yeah, we have this kind of miscommunication there. But for the internal like tasks and project management, we use Asana for the backlog creation.
What's project management methodology you use in your company for this particular project, for example? Agile?
Yeah, we can say that we went Agile, but I cannot say that we were like 100% Scrum or 100% Kanban. So We had kind of a mix of things. We use some of the Scrum routines like stand-ups or grooming or reviews and all that stuff. But, I cannot say that we have like full agile or full Scrum approach. All right, moving on. 10th lesson learned is streamlining testing. And before we launched the site, we had a longer testing period where different business people were involved. And I think there were a little over 10 people involved. And we wanted to avoid all the email communication with them or creating unnecessary spreadsheets. So we decided to use Jira issue collector, which is a kind of JavaScript plugin that you can add to the site, and then the testers can give feedback straight from the browser. And when you create the issue, then the issue will be actually sent to the Jira backlog, and then you can start working with it. And we had a workflow present that when the issue came to Jira, then first the product owner validated if it's actually an issue that we have to deal with, or if it's just an issue or just a question. And when the product owner validated, then it was assigned to the team. And when we finished it, then it was assigned back to the product owner, and then product owner communicated to the testers or the testing group if something was finished and what's the progress. So I think that worked out quite well for us, and yeah, it was useful. The 11th one, almost finished. A few one more. Make scope changes visible to the client or to the whole team. I have mentioned already the migration quite many times, and as I said, that migration created quite a lot of scope changes for us. And another major problem was that we didn't properly make these scope changes visible to the steering group. The steering group was responsible for the budget, and they made decisions regarding the budget. And by not making the scope changes properly visible, of course, we discussed the issues there, but we didn't actually make them that visible. That how much time are they taking, how much budget are they eating away. So at some point there were questions like, why are we not doing enough progress, and why are we losing budget? So a proper way to do it is to make these kind of things very, very visible. How much time are they taking, or will take, and how much budget will you take from the project. And yeah, by doing that, you will once again protect yourself, and the client will have better transparency. 12th one, define a format for the client to write requirements. This is actually something that we didn't use, but in the retrospective meetings, we thought that it might be a good idea to use maybe in the future. I think maybe all of you have had this kind of vague requirements, or that are not very clear enough, or you don't understand why it's needed, what the client actually meant, does mean the requirement, or it's kind of vague and not verified. So a good idea maybe would be to actually provide the client this kind of format, or a list of questions that when presenting you the requirement, the client goes over a list of questions and actually provides you more specific information. What's the goal? Who is the user? What the functionality is actually meant to do, and other stuff. So actually you get better requirements. You actually can avoid maybe some unnecessary communication with the client by doing that. And the last one, the lesson learned that I would like to present is that when the task is too vague to estimate, do not take the commitment. And I think many of you, or at least I have experienced is that when you give out an estimate or a deadline or to the client, then it's quite often taken as a promise. And when you're dealing with a kind of vague task or epic or a problem that you don't know actually how to really solve or what to do, then there's a high chance that the estimate that you give it will not hold it, and you will actually create some expectations for the client that you cannot fulfill. So I think a proper way to do it is to actually not estimate at all, or if you have to estimate, then you have to really clearly communicate that this is not a precise estimate, and to really not create any expectations that you cannot fulfill. And by doing that, you're actually once again being transparent and at least creating more trust. And of course, when you start working on a task, you can later specify the initial estimation that if it's keeping, if it's still true, or is it bigger than you expected, or is it smaller. So we can give feedback throughout the work. All right, these were the 13 lessons that I wanted to share with you today. For the summary, I would maybe like to say that if you want to take one thing out of this presentation, I think that's the key word maybe is transparency. Like the earlier presenter also said that a lot of projects fail not because of technical challenges, but due to communication or lack of communication or lack of transparency. So make the project transparent to the client by sharing the risk, the problems openly, creating visibility about the backlog, having retrospective meetings, having face-to-face meetings, discussing problems. So I think, by creating transparency to the client, you will get trust back from the client, and the client will be more happy with you as a service provider. So, thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, then shoot. Yes.
Yes. I actually have 2 questions. How many developers were involved?
We had Ilya was the lead main backend developer. Besides Ilya, we had also one backend developer who helped us out from time to time, and we had one main front-end developer, and also from time to time we included the second front-end. So altogether maybe 4 in Estonia, and also in Sweden there were also really 2 developers working on the migration stuff. So 6 of them, but not all of them were fully on full time in the project.
And how often did you have the retrospective meetings with them?
Not often enough is the honest answer. I think we had maybe 3 of them throughout the project. But the proper way to do it would be to, have it once in every 2 weeks. When you're doing Scrum, then I think after every sprint you should have a retrospective meeting with the client. We had one in the middle of the project, then I think after that, and also at the end, we discussed the stuff with the client, but you should do it more often.
So this is over now, the project for you, yes?
Well, yeah, we launched the first phase.
Ongoing.
We are currently doing some maintenance work and some.
Okay. My question is, who holds the backlog from now on, or issues? Considering.
What do you mean by who holds? Who is
responsible? Who collects the issues and holds the backlog? And
I think the correct answer is maybe me as kind of a project manager, and also the product owner. Product owner is responsible for the overall prioritization. What should we concentrate on, and what are the tasks that we should start working on. But also, when we work with the team, we also write user stories in the backlog. If something pops up during the work, or we see that something isn't added. So,
is the issue management in the Gyproc site or in Wunderkraut site? The issue management of the that product you make then?
Issue management, do you mean how do we work on issues and what tools do we use? Or
No, what are the problems with that product, with that website?
can you maybe clarify what kind of issues do we have, or what do you mean?
There will be some new development group
Sure.
tasks,
Yeah.
and how client collects them and send you. Is the environment provided by you, or?
Yeah, we are using Asana for the backlog management. And all the new requirements that pop up are usually written into Asana as a task, then later reviewed. Or also, we cannot get rid of email also. And some of the requirements are sent through email or discussed in email or discussed in the weekly meetings. But at the end, they have to go into Asana where we handle the backlog, and they have to be prioritized in the backlog.
So Asana is on your side.
Yes.
Okay.
The client is also has access to it, and everything is visible in Asana. So yeah.
Did you build only the Swedish version of the site, or you have like also created like other local sites?
We have the site for 3 different markets. We have the Gyproc SE, Gyproc DK, and Gyproc NO. But we have actually one Drupal installment, and we have 3 different domains. We have one Drupal, we have installed. All the content editors can access one site, and you can see all the content in one Drupal.
Okay, maybe a bit technical question, but how the content is like, is it like on the same database, or it has like 3 different databases?
I believe we have one database, but yeah, we're not sure even more. But yeah, we have one database. We have, Any other questions?
Were you working with, from the client side, with the business or people, or did you have the pleasure to work with the IT people from that company, or did you have like a project manager in between there, and what kind of problems maybe that kind of layer would cause you?
Mainly we had the communication with the product owner, and also the product owner had kind of marketing assistant working all the
Well, what were the technical people you were speaking to? You have to
yeah.
communicate simpler.
We had in France we had the IT support team that we actually contacted directly, but the product owner was involved. But the communication with the IT support there wasn't actually very cool, and we had quite a lot of issues there because the communication was slow, responses were slow, so it was quite problematic to actually move faster. So we sent out the question and then we got an answer maybe after weeks. So we had quite many delays because of that. But yeah.
What do you think you could have done differently in that way? Okay, so maybe calling after them and asking for the answer.
Sure,
or just,
we also tried phone calls, but in the end we created a hip chat room where we then had a direct contact with the technical people. But that still didn't really work because the person that we were contacted or that we communicated actually had to, if we had any technical questions, he couldn't answer, then we had to go find the answers from some third party, and then it was always again quite slow, and we really didn't figure out the proper way how to do it throughout the project.
So maybe one thing to add to your list would be maybe to try in the beginning really find out if you're actually talking with the right person, and maybe ask if that could be possible directly. Otherwise, maybe have like a
Yeah, we actually tried that too. Can we get access also to the more technical people that are actually providing answers, but we didn't get some, so that didn't really help out also. But yeah, that was quite a problematic situation that we had.
I understood that the main target audience is Scandinavian.
Yes.
What was the reason for hosting it in France?
Well, the funny thing is that we actually didn't host it in France later because, as I said, the communication and the whole process was getting quite problematic. And to actually launch the site, we decided, we agreed with the client to actually host the site in Wunderkraut, Sweden's hosting platform. But we are actually planning to move to the France hosting environment in September this year. But yeah, that's I think also kind of this corporate decisions that they make. They hold all their sites in one environment and they can control them better. So that's a corporate decision that they have. And they can also maybe maintain their sites better by doing it. So.
As I understood, product owner was from Gyproc side, and who teach him to be product owner, which suit you, or he was self-educated?
Actually, he went through a product owner schooling or training earlier, so he had kind of knowledge, but still we had kind of issues there related to the kind of backlog ownership or really taking responsibility of the budget, or we had these kind of problems throughout the project. So my maybe role was to help him with the grading requirements, writing requirements, and yeah, doing the analysis, and maybe bringing the requirements to the team in a proper way, that they are already kind of ready for development. But yeah, they had some previous background, but could have been better. That's maybe also one thing to do when you're working in an agile environment and the client doesn't have any kind of agile experience or product owner experience. Then it's quite important to actually school or educate the client earlier, so that they actually understand the processes, they understand the roles, they understand the responsibilities. And yeah, by doing that, we will once again have a smoother process and less stress. Otherwise, you have to really learn quite a lot just by doing things.
Also, maybe if you notice that the client is kind of slow to answer or probably has a lot of other things to do, maybe you can plan your work so that you have something else to do while you're waiting 2 weeks for the client to get the material or get the answers or something.
Right.
And maybe account for that in the planning phase if that's possible.
Any other questions? All right. If not, then thank you very much.